Hi, I'm Karemmy, and I'm so glad you're here. This is Choices, where trauma and truth collide. This podcast is for parents, foster parents, caregivers, or honestly anyone who is walking alongside a child who has been through severe trauma. And truly, they're seeing all of the issues that come with that, and they want real understanding, real life, practical answers, not just surface level. So here, we talk honestly about what trauma is, what it does, and what actually helps. So with that, let's dive into today's conversation.
And it's like, if you haven't been in there with mud on your face and really been in the trenches, you don't understand.
Thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah. And I think that we really find ourselves on one team or the other in terms of rigid or extremely permissive. And structure in the middle is the goal.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Love it. So what would you say the second pillar is?
The second pillar of attachment repair, so we have being structured to benefit the child, not rigid. And then secondly, we have to determine can't versus won't.
Okay.
And it's so, this one is...
Sounds like choices.
Sounds like
right?
choices. Or maybe it's not a choice.
Right.
And so really determining that with laser focused care is so critical, because I think it's criminal to ask something of someone that they cannot do. Whether that is because of a disability or that is because of a mental health issue, if there's some sort of a diminished capacity that renders you incapable of doing something and people treating it as though it's a choice, that is so cruel. That is really, really cruel. But I think it is extremely disrespectful and profoundly unhelpful to treat someone as though they can't when it's just a won't.
Okay.
So, for example, let's say my son breaks his foot, compound fracture, he is very injured. For me to say, come on, let's go. We're running a 5K as a family. He can't.
Yeah.
He is injured. He cannot do that. And trauma is not as visible. We don't put a cast on our trauma.
Yep.
The Lord binds us up. Thank God.
Yeah.
He does that. And he binds up our wounds. But we can't see that binding up the same as we can see a cast. It would be criminal to ask someone with a soul that is so broken to do something that they can't do. Walking on that healing journey, and to treat them then when my son gets his cast off and maybe he still wants to sit in a wheelchair 4 years later, and I'm saying we need to get off our buns.
Yeah.
We are not broken. Even if you limp, what can you do?
Yeah.
And I think it's important to know, a theorist calls it the zone of proximal development, knowing what is that zone and really calling people to their highest. Not outside of that zone, because then you become someone who's asking them to do something they can't do, but the highest that they can do. And we call it at HOP your personal best.
Yeah.
Everybody's goals are different, right?
Yep.
And what would get someone to the next level and that huge celebration that we do is different for each kid. It's so individualized, because personal best is very, very different.
Yeah.
You know, depending on cognitive limitations and trauma history, and there's so many things that go into it. But really determining with your child what is can't and what is won't.
But how?
Well,
right?
Yeah.
Like how you say determining that, right? Like that sounds great. I think it's a can't. I think it's a won't. And then sometimes you can get tricked. Expert, like savant level could be on Mensa manipulator.
Yes.
Truly.
Yeah.
I mean, I have times where I'm just like, I'm thinking about it for like 30 minutes.
Yes.
So sometimes I still don't have the answer, right? So how do
literally.
you know? Was I just manipulated?
Yes.
Can they? Won't they?
Yeah.
where are we at? You know?
Yeah, it is. It's a very, very difficult thing. And that's why I was saying, like, you have to be able to have that laser focused care and understanding. And I think something that has really helped me become very adept at this, and I'm a very visual person. And so I grew up with a sister that's only 12 months younger than me, and her name is Becca, and she has Down syndrome. And she is one of my best friends. We're very, very close. And it was very easy for me to see growing up, oh, Becca can't do that. I'm going to do that for her. All the way through our teen years, driving, Becca can't do that. I could get my driver's license. I got it. I would drive her places. And so it really helps me to have this filter of what is a can't and what is a won't. And again, I believe it is so unkind to, and we use this phrase frequently, the soft bigotry of low expectations, to treat it like a can't when it's a won't. I have more respect for someone than that. No, you can do this. I want people empowered to the highest level of their zone of proximal development.
I love that. You feel like as a parent, you could do almost like a litmus test, if you will, or something like that. It's especially, let's say a kid is new in my home, right?
Yeah.
Let's say they're new and it's like, I can't quite figure it out where they're at. You know, could you do some type of litmus test? Like, okay, well, if you can brush your teeth, then you can... So you know what I mean? Like,
and
you can say you cannot punch me, but then you keep punching your sister.
Yes.
Right. So where is you know, as a parent, like what is something that we could do early on? To kind of ascertain that. We don't really know yet.
Well, with your example, if someone is brand new in my home, I think all I'm trying to do is back to that beginning. What we talked about is let them achieve felt safety.
Okay.
Like just let them exhale. You're not trying to hold them to the highest zone of growth. They probably just need to sleep. And have comfort food. And have you close.
That's so good that you say that, because it's easy just to think like, well, I want to do this. And so we go through other pillars. Well, I want to make sure that they're this, they're that, and just sometimes maybe forgetting. As parents, first things first.
Stable.
They have no idea.
First stable. Then the growth.
Okay. Felt safety first.
And when you get to know a kid, you'll know. My grandson's 3. He bamboozles me all the time. But I think we're supposed to be bamboozled as grandparents. But my kids, I'm like, no, you need to do that. So
you're like, that's not a can't. That's okay. That's helpful. And just to know, I think also as a parent, like it's not permanent.
No.
You figure it out, and you have people in your corner that can help you see those things whenever you can't.
And situationally, you are not going to destroy a child if you err on the side of grace. Now, if you're always permissive and I'm erring on the side of grace because you want things to be easier for you, now that's just selfish. That's another podcast. That's a whole other episode.
It's not even an episode. It's actually another podcast.
Yes. And that's not what I'm talking about, sort of a sloppy, lazy permissiveness. But if you're in the situation, you're like, oh, I can't figure out, like, should I just hold them to a higher, what should I do? Maybe the Lord just wants them to experience his grace. And so,
I love that. I think it's something we could all use more
of.
Oh, yes. Because who is it that said it? Is it Maya Angelou? If I got it wrong, sorry.
Yes.
To everybody, someone will correct us. Will correct me on my comments, whatever. Who said people won't always remember what you said, but they'll always remember how you made them feel.
Yes.
And ain't that the truth?
Truly.
Right? You leave a sermon, you leave hanging out with somebody. Wow, that was so.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like we don't talk. Well, we talk about how we felt, how someone. What they did to your self-esteem, what they did to how
you feel treated by them.
Yes, exactly. So I feel like that's something also as a parent that it's important for us to recognize, okay, well, is my goal to make this child feel incredible and feel empowered? Or is it to make them into my little robot?
Compliant.
Yep. Yeah. I want you compliant because I have to have control and because but it's
clean,
it's
neat,
clean, cut, in a perfect little bow.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's such a good point. Such a good point.
So with that then, because we're talking about clean cut and whatever, but there's also boundaries.
Yes.
Right? It's kind of what we're talking about, all the modalities.
Yes.
You hear this, but there's always
Leads-
a but.
yeah.
But it leads to this,
Yes.
but it leads to this, but
Yeah.
leads to that. So what about...
It's like an infomercial. But wait, there's more.
I know, but wait, there's more.
Yes.
But wait, there's
Yes.
more, you know. So
We are
with
not
that-
going to sell anybody knives.
No.
That's
No,
not
we're
going to be the next
no,
thing.
Grill, there's nothing, no.
But that is the third pillar. In the book of Proverbs, there's a verse that talks about not letting people move the ancient boundary stones. It's in chapter 22, verse 28. And that is actually extremely relevant to the relationships that you allow into that child's life. If we're talking about attachment repairing parenting, when we are working on that attachment and allowing it to become healthy and strong and solid, we have to be so aware of the boundary stones that we have for others and how they treat the boundary stones that we as the parent have put up. For example, if you know what you've been working on with your child and there's a reason you're saying, no, I need you to complete this task, and someone else comes in and sees the struggle and they're like, it's not a big deal. Let them this or there. It's
Maggie.
that very, very enabling. That person is attempting to move your boundary stones. They don't know what your goal is. They don't know what you're working on. There's a haughtiness to insert yourself into what I am trying to do with this child who has experienced so much trauma. I'm working on attachment. I'm working on so many things. And so how others interact with your child is something you have to be acutely aware of in what you allow in their life, because it will undo when they are justifying the child not cooperating with you. They're moving these boundaries. Oh, that's not that big of a deal. Oh, don't you think you can let that go, or this, or whatever the thing is? Oh, let them do this sleepover, or why can't they go on such and such a retreat? And they have no idea, and it's really none of their business what the proclivities of that child are that maybe you're protecting that child from, or maybe you're protecting others from, because you know what your child struggles with and how they may act out on other children. And so I just don't believe I owe these people explanations on what I know the Lord has called me to do with the child. And that's not to say I don't have a tribe that I do give explanations to, people that do speak into that, people that do spend time with my children alone without me, people that I trust. But they know how to ask me a question without questioning my authority in front of that child. And so triangulation is such a huge thing, but boundary stones that you know you've put in place that are non-negotiables to keep your child safe, to keep that attachment going, to keep other children around you safe, all the things that you've done with wisdom. People that would come in and willy-nilly attempt to move those boundary stones in an ignorance, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. And those people you have to be very careful of, and probably don't mean harm, but the intention behind it does not determine if it causes harm. If I backed my car over someone's child, I didn't mean it, but I still cause harm. So the intention isn't the issue. And I need to be very aware as a parent of who I'm letting around and watching those boundary stones.
And we've talked about that, the intention of being like, I didn't mean to, I didn't mean to. And this is going to be an unpopular opinion, but to me, if all you can say is, I didn't mean to, you are obfuscating responsibility and accountability.
I agree.
Truly, like that's in a friendship, in a relationship, in a marriage, and whatever that may be.
But as you're talking about the boundary stones, I keep thinking, so that means some hard decisions need to be made,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
And how do you make those hard decisions? Let's say it's a family member.
Yeah.
It's a family member that how can you, as a parent, make those hard decisions? Is it one of those things like you need to decide before it happens?
Oh, yeah.
You need to have canned responses. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, what are maybe some like canned responses that
You know
parents can
mine.
give?
You know mine.
I don't know what you're gonna give, Mag.
Which
So
one?
I'm like, are we gonna filter?
I'll give
What
the
are we gonna
appropriate
do?
one.
Okay,
I'll give my
one.
appropriate one that's safe for the podcast. Right? Okay. Thank you for your input. That's so
Period.
benign. Period. There is not an ellipsis. There is not a colon. Add
No
more.
comma, nothing.
We're
No
done.
footnote.
Yeah. Thank you for your input. And then we're done. And I keep it moving.
Okay.
And I'm skirting the child. And canned responses have probably saved my salvation. Yeah.
In
TBH.
numerous situations,
Yeah.
just to make sure. That's good. And it's probably important too that you talk about it with your partner.
Yeah.
Right? That your
Yeah.
spouse and you are on the same
Yep.
page.
Yep.
Especially like when one might not understand. Maybe
Yes.
one parent has done a ton of research
Yeah.
with trauma.
Yeah.
And the other one's just like, I'm along for I'm here with you,
Yes.
but I don't have maybe the time or
Yeah.
the knowledge that you
Yeah.
have. And it's how important it is that you co-parent.
And
you know?
I think in this age of social media and we sort of put everything on display, we're unwittingly believing ourselves and other people start to believe about us that I owe an explanation for everything.
That's so true.
I don't owe you an explanation.
Yeah.
And so don't give one.
Yeah.
Maybe it's as simple as that,
Yeah.
you know?
It's true. And
Yeah.
walk away. There is walk away
Yes.
power.
Yes, walk
Literally.
away power.
Literally. You walk
Literally.
away. Just walk away from a situation. Walk away from, I think that can even be taken like to walk away from a relationship.
Yes.
Whatever that looks like,
Yep.
especially you have set boundaries.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
like you said, your boundary stones, and they can move. Right?
And-
We can move boundaries based on where the child's at and circumstantially.
Yes.
You know, and environmentally, it depends. There's so much to do, but
Do not be afraid to make a
don't
change.
Right, and don't make your job harder than it needs to be. It's
Literally.
already so
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
It's so ridiculously hard.
And most of the time, the child is not confused.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
We'll
That's
just leave
so
that there.
true. Mm-hmm.
But the child is not confused. So when I'm saying, thank you for your input, and we shuffle away, they are in the car cracking up. And they're having monologue about it later because they're very aware,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said, when people, even if they don't mean to, and
Yeah.
I mean, let's just say
Yeah.
it, Mag.
Yeah.
Sometimes at church.
Yes.
Are these all yours?
Yes.
Are they just like, don't, why are you
Yes.
asking? Why are you just being
Well, and the
nosy?
church is looking for little bitty mission trips all the time. And just maybe live your life in kinship and servitude without having to like do a can drive for it to go to the Dominican. Like, can you just, and my child is not going to satiate sort of your need to like do a quick ministry on a Sunday morning. And
Yeah.
it can be really damaging to attachment. It can be really, really damaging.
I'm so grateful though that we do have, it's kind of, it basically takes me back to structure versus rigid. We need control, we need control. This is something that we can control
Yes.
as parents.
Yep.
Specifically, which boundary stones and which relationships
Yep.
are we going to allow
Yes.
into, and that's just because you're talking about relationships and you talked
Yeah.
about adults, but that includes friendships
Yes.
as well.
Yep.
Correct? And
Yep.
being careful with, and sometimes that means you might need to move schools.
Yes.
That maybe
Truly.
you need to, and
Yep.
you have to be willing to make those hard decisions for the future of your child.
And
for
it's not
the rest of your
forever.
kids. Exactly.
It's not forever.
It's not. Yep.
Yep.
And be willing to make those hard decisions.
Let the attachment repair, build, and develop to its full strength that it's able to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We keep talking about the different pillars of attachment repair, and it just dawned on me. Is the goal of all of these that they are first attaching to you as a
Correct.
parent?
Correct.
Not, okay.
So
I was
if
like, 'cause it was
you-
like, oh, look, they're attaching great to their sibling. This is so good, da, da,
No.
da. But they still are cursing me out and giving me,
Yes.
like, as we say, a left hook.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's so,
Okay.
so important. And you have to be aware of that and how is it developing and is it developing? And I think I would say after, and this isn't one of the pillars, but it's important to note, I would say after about age 8, depends on, the brightness of that child. It could be a little younger or it could be a little older, but around 8, it takes 2 yeses for that
Okay.
adoption to work.
Tell me about that.
So I have to do what I need to do to say yes to that child, bring them to my home. And the child has to be able to give their yeses and their cooperation, their behavior, their willingness to assimilate in. Not perfection, that's not what I'm saying, but you can tell
Yeah.
if the child is willing to safely assimilate into your home.
That's so, yeah, I love that. That's great because I think so often, talk about can't versus won't.
Right.
Right? They're all just kind of,
Yep.
it's a 14-year-old
Yes.
that's refusing to cooperate with any of your rules.
Yes.
They're not, they can say all day long
Yes.
that they want me in your home, that they don't want to be moved.
Yes.
But their actions,
Yeah.
aren't showing
Behavior
that.
is so important to,
That's in every relationship,
keep
right? Not just
an
in
eye
talking
on.
in trauma and attachment,
right. Yep.
So, okay, that just dawned on me. And I
Yeah.
felt like I was like, just to make sure, like
Yeah.
we're talking about
Yeah.
caregiver and
Yeah.
parent and child,
Yes. Yeah.
So that was what, 3?
3. Yep.
Just 3. We're
Yes.
just halfway, Mag.
Yes.
And we have like
Yes.
so much to go, but
Yes.
this is such good
stuff.
Yes, such good stuff. Okay. So number 4, I know that we have talked about this numerous times.
Yeah.
Wither versus die.
Yes.
So I can just think of so many pictures
Yes.
immediately,
I love gardening. I love houseplants. I love my outdoor gardens. I have perennial gardens and annuals
And they're
flowers.
beautiful. They're
Thank
beautiful. I
you.
cannot relate. I try. It's just, I don't know. Just not my gifting. So
And I
don't just-
even love veggie gardens and all of the things. If you are looking at attachment and you're working on it with the child, you're working on it in a healthy way, using these pillars, using the resources available to you, I think that we need to remember the attachment isn't just going to die. It will wither before it's just gone.
Any attachment style.
Any attachment.
Okay.
And so it's not instant. It's not going to be this like tragedy, but it's going to be slow in its growth, but it's also going to be slower in its death. And so I hope that brings some semblance of hope to people. So if you're watching for the wither, you're going to notice when it wilts way before, I come home from vacation and I'm like, oh, that one fern in my sunroom, I forgot to stick the stick of where you fill it with water and you put it in and it slowly goes in. And I come home and it is not wilted. It is not withered. It is brown and crunchy. It's gone. That did not just happen, like that. I have forgotten to tend that. And if you're a parent who's doing all of these things and paying attention and being mindful and pouring into your child and pouring into the attachment and keeping them safe and all of that, and you're mindful of that wilt, you are going to notice when it starts to wilt, even before the wither, way before the death. And so you might see things like they're very edgy with you, or they are avoiding you. They're coming home from school and straight up to their room and doing, you're starting to notice the changes, and we're not going to then make demands. You come down from we're going to say, that looks like a little bit of a wilt. I wonder what's going on. And it might be something as simple as preteens.
Literally.
And they want some space. And so we don't need to pathologize everything.
Yes.
But I do think if we're very careful and we're noticing, we're going to see the wilt and we're going to investigate. Do they have a new relationship, a new friend, are they just hitting puberty and some things are budding? We know that a lot of mental health things become much more pronounced during puberty, especially for young women. So there's all the things to look at, but I just think we need to demystify a little bit, like, I have to fix their attachment, or Tuesday, this happened and now it's gone forever. It's not. You'll notice the wilt before the wither, and it's not just gonna be gone.
Yeah.
You know,
But you have to be attuned, right?
You have to be
You have to
attuned.
know your kids and what maybe for one, it looks different. I remember growing up for me,
Yeah.
when I got in trouble, no TV. And I was like, oh,
Yes.
give me the chair. I'd
Yes.
rather the chair. I want
Yes.
to watch my shows. I want to
Yes.
whatever. My brother, you can't read books. And to him, I was like, what? Please. Like,
Yes.
that sounds like a punishment to me. I don't want to
Yes.
sit here and read 17 books.
Yes.
But knowing
Yeah.
the difference of your kids too, because wither versus die,
That's so
it's
good.
not just one child.
Yep.
You know, and one thing this particular pillar that I really appreciate is I feel like this is something that you can utilize even with children who haven't endured trauma.
Yes.
I feel like that's just like a parenting.
Yes.
A parenting note, you know, to be like, okay, in terms of
Yes.
learning and your preteens and withering versus dying, and you have to be astute, you have to be aware, and you have
Yeah.
to know your child.
And
you know?
just because you notice it doesn't mean you need to fix it, because
or even address it right away, right?
we can get nitpicky,
Yeah.
and that will kill attachment faster than anything. If you're constantly nitpicking and you cannot let anything go. And so really noticing where things are wilting. And I don't go and, punish a plant I simply nurture it. I water it. So I don't even have, you're pulling away and this is happening. Just water it.
Yeah.
I notice. So let me do something fun with that child. Let me pour some nurture, some water, some fertilizer into that relationship instead of trying to nitpick or why are you doing this or what? It needs some water.
That feels like gold,
Yeah.
Mag, because how often do we want to? I know that I want to just talk because
Yeah.
I'm such a verbal
Yeah.
processor.
Yeah.
I just want to talk it out. I want to
Yes.
hash it out.
Yep.
You know, and even in friendships or marriage, some people are like, you know what? I actually need 10 minutes before I come back to this conversation.
Right.
You know, where I'm somewhere like, we're going to,
Yes. Yes.
we're not moving from this, but learning, and that's unkind.
We can't let the sun go down on
I
this
know,
wrath.
right? It's
We've
so-
got to
I
talk
know
about
it's
it.
11:59,
Yes.
so we have 1 minute
Yes.
to fix it right now.
Yes.
But learning, you know, like knowing that, and I
Yeah.
think we have to be so aware of ourselves as well as parents and
Yeah.
recognizing, okay, do I need them to feed something in
Yes.
me right now?
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know, because that's not fair to the child.
Nope.
You know?
Nope. That's so good. I love that because it is widely applicable.
Yeah.
You
so
know?
good.
Yeah.
Anything else with wither versus die? No. I know the next thing that we've talked about, and we've talked about this for a long time
Yeah.
because, you know, there's love languages out there.
Yeah.
There are very violent children.
Yeah.
There are some that are very anti-touch,
Yeah.
whatever that may be.
Yep.
So I'm really excited about this pillar because I think that there is two lanes. People are like,
Yeah.
no, absolutely not. You could never.
Yes.
Or you need to.
Yeah.
So tell us about physical connection.
Okay.
As a pillar for attachment repair.
When you have decided to be the parent of a child who's endured trauma through adoption, you have covenanted, just like a marriage. You have entered a
Yes.
covenant that you, before the Lord, are their parent. And I think this could apply to foster care if it's a longer term placement and those kinds of things as well. But physical connection is the fertilizer for attachment repair. This is so important for children. They need safe touch. They need to be brought close. They need to, and I've had children who I know everything inside of them. They want closeness and a hug, but they'll sit there and repel it, and their body is, and then they'll just kind of melt. But I have to find ways that I'm giving safe physical touch frequently, predictably, consistently, and again, intimacy in any relationship is not rapid. It
Right.
takes time to build a relationship, and it's no different with a parent and a child. You can't just like, hey, let's be close. That would be nice if you just picked it,
Yeah.
but it takes time. You have to build it, and that consistent and slow walk toward intimacy with that child, it has to have physical connection. Now, if you have a child who maybe has been through a lot of sexual trauma or you have a child who's been through a lot of physical abuse, or you have a daughter with the adoptive father or the son with the adoptive mother, it is so important that you don't make excuses and say, okay, well, he's the dad, never touch her, because that is sending a message. Oh, you're a very sexualized being and dad is not comfortable around you, and you're reinforcing things about that young lady. And so you do it in a safe way. You're doing a side hug. You're being very intentional about where and how and placement. But it is so important you're saying, you're my girl, you're my daughter, in a very safe, kind, physical touch. It also builds that sensory motor neural loop in the child, which is just the fancy way of saying, like, do the thing before you have muscle memory for it. Keep doing the thing. Keep doing the thing. The hugging, the sitting. We're watching a movie. We're going to sit real close, and we're, I wouldn't do under one blanket. We have a very trauma-informed approaches to all those things, but build the sensory motor neural loop for them, that physical touch and connection, and the chemical releases in the brain cannot be replicated another way in a healthy way. And so pull them close and let them experience your touch in a joyful and kind way. But physical connection is absolutely a must in attachment repair.
So I'm going to push back here, Maggie.
Okay.
You're saying
All right,
that,
I'm ready.
right? You ready? So I'm going to push back because there's also a lot of modalities, therapists, just people with opinions.
Yes.
Just random people on the street. That if a kid, you're coming in, don't touch me.
Yeah.
I don't like to be touched. Don't ever touch me.
Yes.
Just that.
Yeah.
People will say, well, you need to respect their boundaries.
Yes. Yeah.
Versus like how. So what do you say to that? To a kid that's just like, don't touch me. Just in general.
Yeah. I would say you will know if that child is being triggered and that's not the moment.
Oh, okay.
So it shouldn't be all the time, constant. Right. I mean, I'm not carrying my 12-year-old around in like a kangaroo pouch style, but there are times, and likely when they are escalated or aggravated, probably not the time to work on physical connection.
Right.
Or they're going to physically connect.
Right. But I think it's important to say that because, again, we talked about this. Like, we'd never want to assume that someone knows that just because you and I know.
Well, and I think I'm even like that. If I'm frustrated with Jay, he thinks it's hilarious to come and like try to pick me up, or I'm like, stop touching me. It just doesn't land.
No, it's not. No.
It doesn't land. And so I think that's a really good point that you bring up. I think that is so critical. If that's their stance forever and always, and that's their baseline, I would suggest really working with a good therapist to talk that through before you just go for it. Like, no, I'm touching you.
Yeah.
Okay, what are steps we can take toward that, and why, and how is it helpful?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And healing.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Truly for them.
Yep.
Because the reality is physical connection is part of life.
Yes.
So they're going to seek physical connection negatively or positively.
Yes.
There's no neutral.
Yes.
They're either going to be looking for fights constantly, physical fights, or the love.
Yes.
And you don't have to be a touchy-feely parent.
Right.
Because some people, again, are the love languages, right? Well, physical touch isn't me. What would you say to that parent? That's like, I'm not really comfortable with,
I would
like,
say
the side hugs.
I would say it's not about you.
Love it.
It's not about you.
Yeah.
This is what a child needs. I remember going to visit a child in a psychiatric hospital, and this particular child had lived there for about 9 months, and the child looked feral, hair matted, and I mean it was wild. And they said, do you want like an orderly to go in there with you? They're really aggressive. It's not really safe. We don't ever go in that room. And she was 8. And I said, no, I'm good. And I had brought her some fries and Stuffy. And it was, when Squishamallows were like all the rage. And I knew she loved giraffes. So I kind of ascertain information before I go. And so I had found a Squishamallow giraffe on Amazon. And I remember she was getting a little aggressive and she got on the floor. And so I just got on the floor next to her and she scooted a little bit closer to me. And so I kind of stayed. She scooted closer. Within about 10 or 15 minutes, I just put my arms around her and held her, and she just laid her head on my chest. And somebody opened the door and said, "There's no touching allowed." And I just kicked the door shut. And she kind of gave a chuckle like, but she just, kids need to be touched.
Yeah.
Kids need to be touched.
Yeah.
And you'll never get me off of that soapbox.
Yeah.
Kids need to be touched.
Especially when you want to heal
Yeah.
and repair
Yep.
broken attachment.
Yep.
Right? Insecure attachment,
Yep.
avoidant,
Yep.
anxious, whichever one we're talking about.
Yeah.
But we're talking about all these things that are like, add this, do this, don't,
Yeah.
it can feel kind of like suffocating. Like, okay, I need to add this, I need to add this, I need to change this.
Now I need to touch
change
them.
this. I know, okay, now I need to touch them. Okay, wait, but who's touching, like, what kind of touching? Let me make
Yeah.
sure that I'm touching. Okay, I need to change to make sure I'm structured versus rigid. Okay, make sure I have all these boundary stones.
Yeah.
But what if I don't have, like, the space or the margin for that? Like,
Yep.
there's soccer, there's gymnastics, there's basketball, there's church,
Yep.
there's work, there's therapies out my ears.
Yes.
Like, how do you, just very practically,
Yeah.
right? There's only 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
That's all we all get,
Yeah.
So how do we practically even do that?
And you just teed me up perfectly
Oh,
for the
perfect.
final pillar.
Perfect.
Number 6, which is you have to subtract to add connection.
Okay.
You have to subtract to add connection. So you have to, for a season, it might be 1 year, it might be 4 years.
Wow.
Childhood is short,
Yeah.
and the years will reveal what the days might not reveal.
Ain't that the truth?
And so you have to determine that it's worth it. Number one, attachment.
Yeah.
What is the return on this investment? And so less things in your life, less relationships, less parties, less activities, so that you make room for attachment. If you are going, and that child is always in the car seat and pulled from, pillar to post, and you're go. Now we're at church, and now we're at the travel basketball, and now we're here, and we've got this party and these grad things, and you might have to, for a season, slow your life down to make room for something that is huge. Huge. Attachment is massive, but if we don't make room for the growth, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You have to make room for the slow pace of life and the mundane and the predictability so that attachment can happen and grow.
For how long?
It's different with every child. Finding a therapist that really specializes in attachment is helpful. But it's so important because the normal attachment cycle for a child, let's say typical, I won't say normal, typical is a better word, that a child that I give birth to and grows up functionally with me as their parent, they, in those first young years, 3 and under, maybe even 2 and under, they are attaching. They are totally attaching. They need me. I'm meeting those needs. They're learning that the world is safe. They can trust me. They're making their way through this data gathering of attachment development. And by 5 or 6, they are attached. And that's the beauty of little kids and elementary age kids is they still think like the parent is right and they believe you
Right.
and you're smart. And then
You're funny and you're cool
and then you go into sort of that preteen teen where then they detach, which is also healthy. They should be entering that independence. And when you don't allow it, that's called enmeshment. And that is toxic. Well, that's another issue. But they should attach, then go through this period of detaching and figuring out who they are, independent of the parents. What are my opinions? What do I believe? Who am I? And detaching is appropriate. And then the most beautiful thing happens when your child is an adult and they've attached and then detached. They will circle back and connect. Not because they need you, but because they want you. And when we adopt or become into relationship with a child that we are now raising, whether guardianship or kinship or adoption, and the attachment phase never got to happen, we're jumping right into detach, independence, leave me be.
Yeah.
And that's really tricky. And that's why these 6 pillars are so important to keep in front of us and to consider.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's it for today's episode of Choices. Will you take one small step this week? It doesn't have to be everything, just something. And remember, you're not alone in this. We'll see you next time.